Story time about how my boyfriend caught me with my sugar daddy. Quick disclaimer, this is not my story time and my eyes are red because I got sunscreen in them. So my boyfriend and I have been together for almost 4 years. The relationship itself is good, but the only problem is that he doesn't really pay for anything. I pay for the bills, almost all of the rent, and I even pay when we go on dates. I've always had a good job and he's always had like mediocre jobs here and there. I've always told him that I want him to get a better job and he says no because he's comfortable at the job that he's at. Meanwhile, I'm busting my butt and paying for everything. The only things that he pays for are when he goes out to eat by himself or if he's hanging out with his friends, or sometimes here and there he'll buy groceries. But it's really rare. So 2 years ago, I decided to find myself a sugar daddy. Number one, I want the money, and number two, I just want to feel taken care of. So I went through a few sugar daddies and I didn't tell my boyfriend that I was actually doing this. Finally, I found myself the perfect sugar daddy. He gives me $5,000 a month and takes me out shopping whenever I want. We usually go out to fancy dinners, movies, things like that. Whenever I'm with my sugar daddy, I tell my boyfriend that I'm hanging out with friends. I was out with my sugar daddy one night and my boyfriend walks into the restaurant. Part 2 is up.
Part 2 of how my stepmom got so jealous of me and my dad's bond that she plotted to kill me. Continuing off the story, I don't know who she was on the phone with, but I overheard her on the phone saying that she was going to get rid of me. And honestly, I didn't really care and I didn't really think anything of it because I knew she was crazy, but I didn't think she was that crazy. So all of a sudden, she started making me breakfast. And I'm not a breakfast person. I can't eat right when I get up. So every time she would make me breakfast, I'd be like, thanks, but I'm not hungry. And she would get so mad. Like, so freaking mad. I'm not gonna get into all the little details, but comes to find out, she was putting rat poison in my food. She had set up cameras in my room. And I don't know what kind of sense this makes. I think she's just crazy, but she started to hide snakes in my room and claim it was my fault that the snakes were coming in my room. Yeah, doesn't really make any sense. Once I told my dad and my dad got out of his little in love stage with her, he finally stepped up and said something to her, and she admitted that she wanted me dead. He eventually called the cops, and to this day, she is in jail for attempted murder. Oh, did I forget to mention the day that he broke up with her, she tried to stab me in the throat.
My husband and I had our daughter about a week ago. Early in the pregnancy, we chose her name but kept it quiet. Her first name is after my husband's late mom, and her middle name is my favorite flower. The name caused a stir with my husband's family because since he was 8, he had a stepmom, and not only did he honor his mom, but so did his brother when he had a son, by giving a male sort of equivalent of their mom's name. And this had upset their stepmom because they have never bonded with her or considered her their mom, and she feels disrespected in her. This past week, we had a neighbor stop by while my husband's family was visiting the baby, and she asked about the name choice, and I told her she was named after my husband's mom. My neighbor said it was lovely and left, and then my husband's dad and stepmom turned on me for saying that, without acknowledging that he had another mom in the room and making her feel even more looked over. My husband told them that he has only one mother and that they need to get over it and that they should apologize to me or leave. It kind of blew up from there. My husband's half and step-siblings are all upset that I would say that in front of stepmom. Pretty much everyone there is mad except my husband and his brother, who was furious that stepmom referred to herself as their mom. I guess I just feel a little bad because I know my husband and his brother could never find a way to let their stepmom in, and it
Part 2 about how my boyfriend was cheating on me with a 17-year-old girl. So like I said, I hooked up with this friend that night, but I didn't tell him for a couple months because he would always say that we weren't dating, even though we were basically in a relationship. So we were doing really good until around Christmas time. So after he gave me my gifts, which was socks and a candle, he left for Massachusetts. I don't know if I said that right. And a month before this, I had unblocked the girl that he was flirting with. So weirdly enough, after he left, she DM'd me, basically asking if I was still dating him again. And I was like, yeah, why? And she goes, well, I need to tell you something. He actually took my virginity, and he's been sending me a lot of gifts, like a record player and albums, and we've been talking on the phone every night. So when I confronted him about it, he said he felt bad for her because he took her virginity. So after that, I confessed to hooking up with his best friend and called him a child predator. So I blocked him, and then he would still try to get in contact with me.
I'm currently 2 months pregnant, but my mother-in-law has clearly stated she is not happy for me and hates that I'm pregnant. She's been coming over a lot to cook for us, but I haven't been eating her food. Not because I don't like it, I'm just in a lot of pain and very nauseous, but she's always complaining about it. I've been taking a lot of vitamins for my pregnancy, and when my mother-in-law asked, I didn't think much of it. This past Sunday, she came into our house and stayed for hours. Everywhere I go, I see her looking for something. I ask what she's looking for, but she doesn't say what, so I walk away and give her privacy. The past few days, I've had really bad abdominal pain, upset stomach, headache, and nausea. So when I called my doctor, she asked if I was taking anything, and I said yes, vitamins. She asked me to bring them in. That's when she told me it wasn't vitamins, it was actually aspirin. I knew right away my mother-in-law was the one who switched them out. I can't believe it. My mother-in-law made me feel so sick, and I almost miscarried if I didn't go see a doctor. I told my husband, and he confronted his mom. She completely denied it and said she would never do anything to harm her unborn grandbaby. It's so clear that she replaced my vitamins, and she's lying about it. I'm so upset and I feel like I'm not being safe with her. I have no trust and I want her out of my life. But my husband says we have no proof.
I'm having dinner with my sugar daddy when my boyfriend walks into the restaurant. By the way, my sugar daddy did not know I had a boyfriend. As soon as I see my boyfriend walk in, I tell my sugar daddy that I have to go to the bathroom. I literally bolted to the bathroom. As I'm in the bathroom stall freaking out, my boyfriend calls me. So I answer the phone and he says, "Hey, are you at the restaurant? I swear to God, I just saw you run into the bathroom. Who's that guy with you at the table?" I was caught. I had no option but to be honest with my boyfriend. I tell him to come to the bathroom and he comes in and I explain to him that it is my sugar daddy. Then he stares at me for a few seconds and asks me, "How much money does he give you?" I decided to lie and I said 3,000 instead of the 5,000. And my boyfriend says, "Wow." And I'm like, "Aren't you mad?" And he said, "No, you're just gonna have to share now." Excuse me? Then I told him I didn't want to be in the relationship any longer because he's a man-child and I had to pay for everything. Begged me not to leave him and he said that he would get a better job. We're still in the bathroom at this point and my sugar daddy's waiting for me outside. Then my boyfriend says, "If you don't want me to go out there and tell him that you have a boyfriend, you better start giving me some of that money." I was shocked. Part 3 is up.
I literally want to cry. So if you didn't know, I have a sister, and her name's Ashley. And we both have boyfriends. And every night we both fall asleep on the phone with our boyfriends. So one day we're all hanging out and we're like just talking. And my sister's boyfriend looks at me and he's like, "You need to stop going into your sister's room in the middle of the night." And I look at him and I'm like, "What are you talking about? I don't have a reason to go into her room. Like, I don't go into her room, especially in the middle of the night." Then my boyfriend hops in the conversation and he's like, No. He's like, "No, I hear Ashley go into Kayla's room every night and stare at her." So me and my sister both look at each other and we're like, "We don't go into each other's rooms, do we?" And we agreed that we do not. And they said this has been going on for months. So for months, somebody or something has been going into me and my sister's room for about 15 minutes every night and watching us sleep. But it only...
Am I the asshole for refusing to let my stepdaughter use my daughter's wedding dress? I met my stepdaughter Zoe 2.5 years ago and I married her father less than 5 months ago. It was a small and private celebration since that's what we felt was the best thing to do since I'm still grieving my daughter Lauren who passed away from sepsis at the age of 26. She was doing okay and was getting ready for her wedding that was supposed to happen the same month she passed away. We still don't know what went wrong. I took most of her belongings, including her wedding dress. We bought it together and she put a lot of her own touches on it. Although it hurt to look at it, I made sure it's safe. My stepdaughter Zoe is younger than Lauren. She's 23. We're not very close and distance is one of the reasons why. The issue started when Zoe visited to talk about her wedding in April. We were talking about wedding dresses and she suddenly brought up Lauren's wedding dress. I asked her what about it and she said she saw it several times and it got stuck on her mind. She asked me if she could see it and I let her. She then said she'd like to wear it at her wedding. I felt uneasy. I told her I wasn't sure that was a good idea. She told me it's fine. She'll have to change a few things in it so that it can fit her size and style, but this is why I had a hard time accepting. I told her, would I be the asshole if I called off my wedding because my fiance doesn't want my son to bring his boyfriend to the wedding? My son was born when I was only 15 years old and I've been a single dad since I was 18. It was hard living for a long time money-wise, but I always tried to do my best by my son. Today I own my own gym and my son is now 22 and going to college and works at my gym full-time. He came out to me when he was 14 years old and I've always been supportive of him and his identity. I've been with my fiance for about 2 years and while she does come from a very deep religious and conservative family, she has never had any issue with my son. At least nothing she has ever expressed to me. My son has been dating his boyfriend since he was 18 and I've gotten to know him very well. However, my fiance told me recently that she does not want my son's boyfriend to come to the wedding, nor does she want her parents to even get a hint that my son is gay. That if they found out, they would have a complete fit. This really bothered me because I refused to ask my son to go back in the closet. What is going to happen in the future? What's going to happen when my son gets married himself? Will they want him and his husband barred from other family events? He's my son and will be the best man and it will be unfair to deny him a +1 because her family... My cousin in high school recently turned 18. She doesn't have a car and during her birthday weekend thought her parents were going to buy her one. When they didn't, she was pretty upset. I should note that I'm not very close with my cousin or the rest of my extended family for that matter. Anyways, my cousin texted me on the Friday before her birthday asking if she could take my car to the mall and then for an out-of-town road trip with her friends over the weekend. I tell her no. She begs and pleads with me, but I tell her no again. My car is for me to drive and for me only. If she wants her own car, she can save up and buy one. She calls me a bitch and says that I ruined her birthday and that she's embarrassed because her friends think she got a car for her birthday and she doesn't have one. I don't respond to her and think nothing of it. I wake up on Saturday morning to find that my car has been egged and TP'd. And since the weather was warm outside, the raw egg baked into my car along with the dried up toilet paper destroying the paint. I check my security cameras and I find my cousin and a bunch of her stupid friends vandalizing my car. I obviously press charges and my cousin is in legal trouble. Her and her parents are pissed off at me for pressing charges, saying she's just a kid and she's going through a phase. Saying things like I'm almost 30 and I don't remember what it was like at that age. Do you think I took it too far by pressing...
Welcome back to Reddit Stories. About 18 years ago, my wife and I wanted to adopt a child, and we were paired up with an Asian couple. We assured them the child would be loved, which was the truth because we instantly fell in love with our baby boy. After about 8 months, though, we started to feel twinges of guilt because our perfect Chinese son was going to be raised in this whitewashed household by two ding-dongs who were unable to provide him with any sort of connection to his cultural heritage or identity. There happened to be a large Chinese population in our city, though, so it seemed like a no-brainer for us to expose him as much as we could. We enrolled him in Mandarin classes, and we even developed a relationship of sort with a Chinese couple who became his adopted auntie and uncle. We even took family trips to China every couple of years. Flash forward to recently, he's now 17 years old and getting ready to go to college, so my wife and I are helping him fill out the financial aid form. Digging through my office for the needed paperwork, I came across his adoption papers, and it was only then that I saw it. Something so obvious, so painfully brick to the face obvious. Something that neither my wife nor I in the stupidity of our youth had registered. The names on the adoption paperwork were Park and Kim. Our son was Korean.
This is why it's better to have one friend that you hang out with regularly instead of having a big group of friends. And trust me, you're going to want to listen to this story time. So when I was a sophomore in high school, I was kind of going through an identity crisis, and low-key still am. I went to a predominantly white school for the majority of my life, so let's just say I was extremely whitewashed. It was one of those times in my life where if a white person said the N-word around me, I would just laugh. Not because I didn't know it was wrong, but because I wanted to be accepted and I wanted to be like everybody else, and I seeked validation. Sophomore year was really when I started to become who